Welcome to Movies to Watch Before You Die. My name is Kyle, and I am joined by the actual hosts,
Dylan.
Dylan and
Gab.
Gab.
We didn't know what to do there. We're so used to like me and cousin. Okay.
Hello.
You're doing great
Hi.
though, Kyle. Keep going.
Keep going. Okay, well, I'm here because I nominated this week's movie, Galaxy Quest,
You can't
which
see
was
it, but he's
released
holding
in
up the Blu-ray.
I am. It was released in 1999, starring Tim Allen, Sigourney Weaver, and rest in peace, King Alan Rickman, and other people.
Yeah.
But he'll always be Hans Gruber to me.
Yep. Amen.
I feel like most people it's Snape, but I digress. Not important. All right. Kyle, I'm gonna keep you going here. You're gonna tell me the log line, the shortest version you got. What is Galaxy Quest about?
What's this all been about? What am I working toward?
You think you know everything about me, don't you?
I dive at your bottom. I bloody well ought to.
Galaxy Quest is about fledgling actors from a science fiction show in the 1980s who are doing the Comic-Con circuit before it was cool, and they are tired of their egotistical castmate who is also the captain. I don't know any of the parallels to real life in this whatsoever. And little do they know that there is a group of aliens who live somewhere in the galaxy who were inspired by the adventures of the Galaxy Quest crew and have recreated everything in real life. And our cast members from the Galaxy Quest television series are swept up in an actual space adventure.
Okay. Same message as
pretty
the IMDb plot summary. I think they're a little more succinct, but you got a little more of the tone in there.
Okay.
So according to IMDb, the alumni cast of a space opera television series have to play their roles as the real thing when an alien race needs their help. However, they also have to defend both Earth and the alien race from a reptilian warlord.
Is he reptilian?
I never thought of him
he
as
was more
reptilian.
insectoid.
You
Yeah.
look like a grasshopper to me.
Yeah, he's got like the little things that pop up.
I wish this was a video
Antennas.
podcast so I could show your little flapping of your
I mean,
arms.
you're recording it. Do with it what you will.
Fair enough.
Oh, we haven't mentioned that with the tariffs of happening or not happening, that I'm back. It's now 2025 because I know Scotty's probably losing his mind right now.
Yeah, we thought Kyle was banned, but we've had to pay 145% extra to get Kyle in here. Although that makes it seem from you're from China, but whatever, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. So I want to tell a little bit of a funny story about this before we get into it. Last Friday, I was talking to one of my personal training clients, and she was telling me like, "Oh, I just saw Pride and Prejudice in the movie theater for the 25th anniversary," and I said I had never seen it. She's like, "Oh, my family loved that movie." She goes, "There were two movies growing up that my family loved: Pride and Prejudice and Galaxy Quest," and I was like, "Oh my God." I have to watch Galaxy Quest this weekend for my podcast. And she was like, "It's so good. You're going to love it. It's the best movie ever." And I was like, "Oh my God, I hope she doesn't listen to this because that's a terrible impression of her and really very vaguely off from what she said." But I went into this thinking, "Oh my God, Lisa says this is one of the best movies ever." So just know that there was a lot of pressure on this from the beginning because she was like, this is like, her, those pinnacle childhood movies that you're like, it's the best movie of all time, hands down. Like this is the
Of
movie that I
course.
grew up on. This is it for her. So Kyle, is this one of those movies for you?
So it's funny. I was talking to my wife about this specifically
Straight guys
because
and Borat.
I feel like I'm like, oh no, I'm enabling it by laughing, but goddamn it, I can't help it.
it's really interesting. So a little bit of behind the scenes for our lovely listeners, and I am very grateful to be back on the show. I know you people in, I guess, parasocially, but Dylan's my friend. I bug him all the time. Dab, I'm still waiting for the friendship request. Anyways,
We'll see.
that there had been a lot of conversation about what was the potentially going to be the movie that I was going to come back for, because obviously it has been much anticipated, even to the point where Gab, during the critical reviews of the podcast on Apple Podcasts, you threw it out that if people are critical of the podcast, that I should be included in the criticism. So
Amen.
obviously,
Doubling
totally
down
fair.
on that right now.
I don't disagree with you. My presence has obviously been felt on the show. But it was funny trying to figure out exactly what it was going to be. I know Dylan and I went back and forth on what the movies were. It's funny because for the older generation, Spaceballs probably comes up a lot when you talk about Galaxy Quest. And what's so interesting to me, I mean, we're not in opinions yet, I don't think. Dylan,
No.
have we said okay. But what was really funny was I watched this last night, And I had never come to this realization. Like, I'm sure we've all had conversations with whether it's your significant other or you're just shooting expletives around with friends, metaphorically or otherwise. And I realized watching this last night, I think my first childhood crush was Sigourney Weaver in this.
Sigourney
Because-
Weaver is smoking hot in this movie.
Oh my
I'm gonna be honest with
God.
you.
Like it was fascinating. I know I saw, I mean, we'll get into, I don't want to steal any of Dylan's bits, but I didn't see this in theaters. I remember renting it. The irony is I talked about a movie recently on Film Reelists that definitely was a perfect blockbuster movie, but it just happened to make it to theaters now. And this was one of those movies that was constantly in rotation when we would go somewhere and we could only rent a certain amount of movies. And science fiction was weird. Like my dad, I mean, this was the 90s, like where you had to pick one. You couldn't be a Trekker or a Star Wars fan. Like you really were just one. And Star Trek wasn't a show that was really ever played in my house. I was familiar enough with it, but it was funny because Galaxy Quest really introduced me to a lot of those concepts. And I hold this movie in high regard, mostly because it actually inspired the first ever podcast I was a part of, where all we did was talk about Galaxy Quest related to movies we were talking about. So it wasn't like we didn't just talk about Galaxy Quest, but it'd be like, oh, this is really funny. How can we connect this movie in 2010 to Galaxy Quest? Like, it's not my Bible of movies, and I wouldn't even say it's one of my favorite movies of all time, but it's so specific, yet the doors that this opened that I don't think a lot of people are aware of. It's so interesting. Like 1999 has been argued as the best year of movies ever, or the 90s just in general. Like, it's so interesting what happened to have come out in that decade. So I don't hold, like, it's, I mean, this is kind of answering your question, but also giving an opinion, but I have more in-depth thoughts. So that was very long-winded.
So how about taglines?
Wait, real quick, I just need to know this original podcast that was exclusively Galaxy Quest. Was this like a 6 degrees of separation type of
Sort
Kevin
of,
Bacon
kind of,
thing?
yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It failed so hard. Although, okay, can I tell you a really random thing though? And I found the fact that this happened insane. So my friends and I that we did this show together with, we worked at a theater, and there is a subsidiary of Chains, and shout out to my Canadians because you're the only people who would know about this. It was called Galaxies. Like, that's just what the brand was. And at one point I was cleaning out a storage room because we were making room for more like standees and posters and stuff. And there was a film canister on the ground when movies used to be delivered in film. The reason we did the Galaxy Quest in like 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon podcast was I found the film can for Galaxy Quest when I was cleaning out that storeroom.
Is that the film can that you take a like that you have as your photo?
The
For the film
original
reels?
realist photo, yes, was of the film can of Galaxy Quest.
Huh. I've Kevin
now
Bacon
I've
it back
obviously-
to your podcast now.
Yeah, and now I've so the Galaxy Quest has always kind of tangentially been connected to pop culture for me. So it's weird how stuff like that works out.
Well, we'll see if all three of us feel the same way. We're going to get into the taglines now, which is Gab's favorite part. So the first one feels obvious. Never give up, never surrender.
Okay.
Perfectly fine with that. A comedy of galactic proportions.
With a question mark?
No, I just felt like it's not a strong tagline to me. It had to be said as weakly as it felt.
Okay.
These actors are now outer space heroes.
Fuck out of here.
That feels very much less like it's a statement. Like they will be in outer space in the film.
Yeah, like, thanks for that.
This one I like. Acting like heroes may not be enough.
I like that one.
That's good.
They're about to give a command performance 8 million light years away.
Nope.
The use of command screws that one up, in my
Yeah.
opinion. Like, it's the performance of their lives or something would almost make more sense.
That would be better. Their careers were boldly going nowhere.
I do like that one.
It's Star Trek.
Star Trek. Yeah,
Yeah.
to boldly go where no one has gone before.
I like that. That connects back a little bit.
Yeah.
From out of work actors to outer space heroes, which is almost the same as the one before.
Mhm.
Last one. The show has been canceled, but the adventure has only begun.
I like that one
I don't
too.
hate that. Yeah.
I don't hate that. I think my favorite one is acting like heroes may not be enough. I feel like that's
I
kind of
agree.
puts all of it together.
I agree.
All right. Now, I feel like we can get into opinions and we'll give a lot of spoilers as we give those opinions, I'm certain.
Yeah. Well, be right back, guys. I just shit my pants. Wait a second. Oh my God.
Was that loud? It wasn't that loud. I just was like, I'm not doing that.
No, but there's a siren going by my block, and so it like happened with the siren, and so it just like really caught me off guard. Anyway, always a pleasure, Kyle. All right, so listen, start talking.
Why this movie?
Well, wait, I feel like we
No,
should start
you've
with.
already said why this movie. Well, no more why this movie.
Wait. We're not starting with Kyle. These opinions should start with you, Gab, the only person here who had not seen this before.
In this critic's opinion,
that's just like your opinion, man.
Well, I have a right to my opinion, and my opinion is you have no right to your opinion.
When I texted Dylan and said, "What movie are we doing?" and he said, "Galaxy Quest," I thought it was the movie, the Adam Sandler movie with the remote.
Click?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
So I was like, oh, this is not even close. And then my client Lisa, shout out baby girl Lisa, she that's a very specific 90 Day Fiance reference that I know Dylan will get.
It took me a second, but I did.
So she the long and the short of it is she refers to me only as Trainer Gab. So like if she, for example, has like a violin lesson, she goes, "I'm going to violin Trainer Gab." Or like I'm going to like anybody that performs a service for her is that version of Trainer Gab. And so I told her that Corey and I call her baby girl Lisa at home because of Lisa from 90 Day Fiance. Anyway, she set this up to be like, this is going to be a life-changing experience for you. She
Never a
told
good
me
thing
everything.
going into any form of
Nothing
entertainment.
ever. No, I would
This-
never tell like anybody that. And you
No.
guys didn't put my favorite movie of all time on this list.
What is your favorite movie of all
Zorro.
time?
I know he's going to say Zorro, yeah.
No, it's Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Oh, I thought you meant when you were on. Quite
No.
frankly, saddens me that neither of those made the list, yeah.
Sorry, guys. So I went into this with really high expectations, and the way she described it, which is very similarly to the way that IMDb described it, I was like, oh, this is going to be really funny. Like, that's, I'm stoked. Like, this sounds like a great, and the cast, are you kidding me? So I'll start my opinions by saying that I went in with my expectations really, really, really high. I am going to tell you the circumstance that kind of fucked this up.
Is this going to be one of those scenarios where Gab watched this? I watched it when I had time at 5:30 in the morning.
No.
Like after
Although,
my
guess
apartment
what?
exploded. Like
I watched The Naked Gun at 5 o'clock in the morning, and that was hilarious.
I know it's just not a conducive time for comedy usually.
Yeah. I saw Sinners about 3 hours before I watched this movie.
Now, I'm very curious how did one take away from the other in any way for you? Because they're not remotely
One
similar.
has
Gab.
two Michael B. Jordans.
I know.
Galaxy Quest has 0 Michael B. Jordans.
And maybe that's what I will say in the verdict was my problem with this film. So it was a Sunday. Or maybe it was a Saturday. It was Saturday. Corey said to me, "I really want to see this movie called Sinners." And I was like, "I don't know what that is." And he was like, "Everybody says it's good." And I said, "What is it about?" And he goes, "I'm not sure, but we have to see it." So I was like, "Okay." So
That's the best way to go into a movie, quite frankly.
I had no idea. I didn't know that it was a period piece. I didn't know anything about it. I was kind of expecting it to be one of those like shooting movies where everyone's just like with the giant guns.
You sound like my grandma right now. It was very shoot, kill, kill.
That's what I was expecting. But it was one of the best movies I've maybe ever seen. So
No,
okay.
I'm not reacting to your love of Sinners. I also recently talked about it and I really liked it. I'm laughing because Dylan and I had a phone call conversation on Monday about Sinners, and he's like, "I'm tired of hearing like it's the best movie ever."
It's pretty good. It's fine.
It was good. It was really good.
One of the best movies I've ever seen. I'm about to derail this into the Sinners episode instead of Galaxy Quest. I'm about to go. I can't do that. But I will just say Sinners is very good. It is not going to be up for an Oscar for anything next year, maybe, except for like costume design or something like that. No, get out of town.
Okay, here's why I'll tell you you're wrong. Black Panther got a Best Picture nomination. So,
yeah.
And which one's better?
Don't give me that logic. I mean, Shakespeare in Love won the Best Picture. Is it better than Saving Private Ryan? We're about to derail this whole thing now.
Just cut this all and let's just talk about why Gab didn't like Galaxy Quest.
I thought Sinners was so good, and I think mostly because I had no idea going in what it was going to be about, and so all of a sudden there were vampires, and I was like, oh my God, because the vampires don't show up till like more than halfway through the movie. So all of a sudden you're like, this is not what I was expecting. So it really fucking took me on an emotional roller coaster, and I loved it. And also I love music, and like it was very like that dance scene was so crazy, and I was like, how are they doing this? Anyway, so then we came home and I said, I gotta watch Galaxy Quest. Do you mind if I pop it in? And which by the way is a Zach reference, Dylan, from the episode on Wild Things, when Zach said he would be on his deathbed and go, pop it in. So and now whenever we turn a movie on, we go pop it in. And
honestly, that happened over the weekend. I was with Zach and we were talking about the Goonies, and he was like, let's go watch it right now. I was like, okay.
Pop it in. So we popped it in, and I'm like on this movie high. I'm like, oh, we saw one great movie today. We're gonna watch another. Lisa said this is gonna be a great movie. And then I was like, huh. Okay.
Oh, I feel like this is more about the crippling weight of expectations than anything now.
No. Because here's the thing. Would you say that this movie is a children's movie?
No,
but there's something interesting there.
Oh, don't get me started on this. I had time to kill today. So if you do actually like Galaxy Quest, Fandom/Screen Junkies did a documentary called Never Surrender.
It's on Prime.
It's on Prime. Yeah. All about the making of this. And it's one of the production history for Galaxy Quest is incredibly compelling, just based on when it was coming out. And I'm sure Dylan probably has some of this in trivia or whatever. I don't even remember what you call it.
It's called the facts, Kyle. If you want to be on the podcast, you have to know the segments.
Sorry. I haven't been on in a while. It's not my fault. I listen every week, but I haven't been on it a bit. I'm out of practice, Gab.
I'm calling bullshit on that. The reason that I say that is because I think my biggest like starter opinion is that this movie very much reminded me of the feeling I got when I watched The Lion King, which was that I imagine as a child, like in the shoes of baby girl Lisa, it would feel like so much happens. And as an adult, you're like, oh, this was relatively simple and straightforward.
I guess.
Okay.
Dylan, do you want to take this or do you want me to just keep going?
Well, I was just going to give a little bit of a fun fact about originally it felt like they were intended to make it more R-rated. And at the last second, they really pulled back a lot and started like, we're going to market it for ages 6 to 12. That's my marketing executive taking the drag.
13.
Yeah.
Like, I think, I don't know. I think what's interesting about that specifically, looking at what the movie's doing, and I'm sure this will kind of get the ball rolling, is the whole concept. Obviously, it's Star Trek, right? Like the best way that I would actually sell this to somebody is, like Spaceballs is a spoof of Star Wars within Star Wars, right? Like all of those characters are just parodies. It's like a really long Robot Chicken sketch, right? Where the whole thing is a joke. It's like telling you a Star Wars story, except it doesn't have the spectacle or the magic or the whimsy of the first Star Wars back in 77. No, 79.
77.
And then, no, 77. That's right. And Galaxy Quest, what's so interesting about it, as a kid, I was like, oh yeah, that was fun, but I didn't hold it at a very high regard. I actually think with time, the movie gets better because it's not like, obviously the movie was, they edited all the language, and one of my favorite dubbing things of all time is Sigourney Weaver clearly saying "fuck that," and they dub over "screw" because you at the time you weren't allowed any, I still actually I don't know if you are anymore or period. You're not allowed to say the F word at all in a PG film.
No, definitely not.
Well, it's weird though, because like in PG-13 you get one.
You get one. Everybody gets
one. We
one.
have different ratings here in Canada. We don't have PG-13. We have PG, and then we have 14A, and then we get 18. We don't have time. I know Gab only has an hour, but this movie, it's not anything that I think kids would actually really connect to at all, because the movie is about washed up actors. Right? It's the Star Trek original cast, right? If you have to look at the cast it's looking at, it's funny because the Galaxy Quest show, like the TOS version of that, is the 80s. So it's kind of in an era actually where Star Trek wasn't a TV series. It's during when the movies were popular. But in terms of its portrayal of fandom and bushy-eyed-tailed young 20-year-old Justin Long as like the main fan, he's supposed to be, I'm guessing, in his like senior, junior in high school at the time, which is not millennials. Like, that's not us when this comes out. Like, the oldest you would be is 14. And its portrayal of fandom at the time, like, this is before Comic-Cons were cool, right? Like, washed up actors were going to Comic-Cons because they had nothing else. Like, it wasn't considered to be like, you're connecting with the reason you have a job, which is Star Trek, of all the franchises, took the longest to get there. And its perspective on fandom. And then I think for me, what separates this from Spaceballs is, I don't disagree with you, Gab. I do think this is straightforward simplicity, but it's the things around it that make it on its own. Like, Dylan's not going to have this in facts, but this movie is so beloved, or beloved, depending on who you want to talk about. There's this thing in the Star Trek fandom for the film specifically, where the rule is only the even ones are good. And it was like Wrath of Khan.
Yeah, I've heard that before.
Right? When the new movies came out, they went, wait a minute, it doesn't work anymore because Star Trek '09 is really good, and then Into Darkness was bad. That the Star Trek community loves Galaxy Quest so much, they're like, no, we forgot. Because it is a Star Trek movie, but it just wasn't made with Paramount, so they couldn't do that from a legal standpoint. That Galaxy Quest is now included in that list to maintain all the even Star Trek movies are good, which I think is hilarious because this is such a love letter to that franchise. And in an era where fans were like, SNL would do sketches about like, it's all fake, like with William Shatner, get out there, nerds, like go into the sun. Like none of it is real. And there was no appreciation for the reason these franchises continue is because of the fans of those things, right? Like, there are franchises that come back because fans are so vocal. There's been countless examples of that. Probably in the last 10 to 15 years is the most recent. But
yeah,
what I love about this, and I was saying this to Nalina as I was kind of generating what I was going to say about it, is I think it's really interesting when it has these people in it. Like Tim Allen is coming off of the Santa Claus. He's going to do Santa Claus 3 years from now. In Galaxy Quest. You've got Alan Rickman, who's at that time, yes, obviously he's Hans Gruber, arguably, I would say probably the greatest like action villain of all time. But after that, he's considered to be such a serious actor, and all of the avatars or stand-ins for their characters don't ever feel really like they're making fun of. Like, it's not, oh my God, how stupid was Leonard Nimoy to be Spock for so long? Like, he looks so stupid.
None of them are doing an impression of anybody else.
No. And all those characters, and why I think this works most for adults, is the portrayal of them. It's done seriously. Like, their relationships that they have with everybody. Like, specifically, Alan Rickman, if he doesn't 1,000% invest in, I hate being Dr. Lazarus, that scene when, I can't remember his, Quillick dies, and that thing he's not wanted to say for, at this point, it would be 18 years, or I think they say Galaxy Quest went off the air in like 84, 83. So 15 plus years, he does not want to say by Grabthar's hammer. Like, the movie is hammering that in, like, by Grabthar's hammer, what a savings. Like, he hates it so much.
I do love that, though.
It's great, but when you have, like, Alan Rickman investing in that. He's I'm assuming, a Royal Academy of Arts like trained actor. And then Tim Allen in this, I would be hard pressed for somebody to tell me a movie he's better in. Like, he's a funny actor. He's in a bunch of things and he makes us laugh.
He might be funnier in other movies, but I think he has his best actual moments of acting in this movie. And I think it's a very straightforward story, but it gets better the more that you understand the meta around it. But that's one of the two best moments in this movie, I think, as far as not comedic moments, I would say, is when we finally, it's really the, ironically, I'm going to refer to it in a joking sense. It's the punchline of the setup has been, I hate that line. I don't want to say it. I hate that line. I don't want to say it. And when Quellic is shot, which it has stayed with me for years, me and Zach will still regularly go, I am shot. Like that reaction to being shot. But Quellic has this moment where he says, I have always considered you as a father to me. And again, it's one of those moments where even though I would call this a sci-fi comedy, there is no comedy in this moment. Everything is stopped. And with the utmost sincerity, he delivers, what is it? By Grabthar's hammer, by the sons of Warven, you shall be avenged. And like, I feel like everyone's like, like, you know what I mean? It's a very beautiful moment in a very stupid, like, he's wearing the ridiculous latex thing on his head and like
that slowly wears away as the movie goes on.
Yes. I like that we never see him fully out of it though. Even when the one scene we see him at home, he's like, well, I got to wear this again in a couple days for the next convention. So I'm just going to leave the fucking thing on.
It is a good choice.
It is. And I feel like Alan Rickman as an actor is a perfect choice for this because he plays serious so well. Like if he was doing the Tim Allen role, he'd be terrible. But like for this, I can't think of anybody who would have done this better.
Yeah.
I was going to say Nicolas Cage, but no, I don't think so.
No, I don't think so. Nicolas Cage, I think, takes himself too seriously, that he'd be like a weird crossover between Alan Rickman and himself. Like it just wouldn't work. I do want to say though,
be Fred.
Oh,
Tony
yeah,
Shalhoub
kind of.
role?
Yeah. Very awkward. I want to challenge the Tim Allen thing and suggest that perhaps he was funnier in Jungle to Jungle.
I don't think
not funnier. Not
yes,
funnier. His
I
actual,
would not
like,
say
his best in terms of dramatic performance. Like he is very funny in a bunch of things. Like every year, Santa Claus, I'm sure. Well, no, actually, like for a lot of people, it is an every yearer, right? Like it's up during the holiday season.
Never seen it.
Well, no,
I believe you mean annual.
Sure.
Every yearer. That's always what I've referred them to. But like, there's movies that he's in, like Buzz Lightyear, right? I was going to say Toy Story, yeah.
Toy Story, right? But in turn, like, I've seen probably most of the stuff he's been in, but none of those movies and none of those roles demand what he needs to do in Galaxy Quest, right? Because he's the funny, either deadbeat or like he's the lead guy, and we all love him. He's the hotshot, right? In a bunch of different things, Jungle to Jungle, right? He's a lawyer.
Yes.
Right? Exactly. And the dynamic of these cast members bouncing off of each other. And we haven't even gotten to like Sam Rockwell was an unknown in this, and he kills with every line he has. Like my favorite is when Tony Shalhoub is sleeping with
Laliera,
and he's like, "Oh, that ain't right." Like he's just not, as the tentacles slowly appear to drop from the hologram appearance. And Sigourney Weaver, who so desperately wanted to be in this movie, which I love the fact that she wanted to be this person. Like, it's obviously playing up the Uhura thing. But what's so funny is I would argue Star Trek got more sexy later on, right? Because when was 7 of 9? Or 6 of 9? Or whatever.
I think that's Star Trek The Next Generation or I don't know Star Trek. I don't know. It's the one where it's the Quantum Leap guy is the leader.
So Voyager. So this is 97. Because Jerry Ryan was just in like a onesie that whole time. Right? And like Sigourney Weaver wanted the big fake boobs and the blonde wig. And like she just wants people to care about her but all they cared about was how she looked and her chest size. Like each of the cast members so specifically is clearly influenced by a Star Trek character or actor, but then they play off the relationships, which is so funny because I don't think anybody thinks of Leonard Nimoy as like a serious trained actor. but like that's what we get from him. Although Tony Shalhoub makes a bunch of Spock faces, like when you see the old Galaxy Quest footage.
Well, I feel like it sort of dodges a bullet because he's obviously Tech Sergeant. What is it, Tech Sergeant Chen?
Yeah,
like it's clearly like the joke is that he was this whitewashed character that he was playing an Asian man, and I feel like the only time where that comes across as like anything is in that moment where they're showing him. He like clearly squints his eyes, and I'm like, it's a good thing that they kept this like very subtle into the background, and then they were just like, the new joke is not that he's playing an Asian guy, it's that he's really fucking high the whole time.
And we don't know if that's Tony Shalhoub or Fred Kwan. Like, there's no.
Oh, that's Fred Kwan, because that was totally his idea.
It's brilliant.
I feel like the actor we need to address, who maybe has the most important impact on the movie, is Enrico Colantoni, who plays Mathazar, the leader of the Thermians, who talks, of course, like this the entire picture.
As you can imagine, I didn't much care for that.
I absolutely adore it, Gab. It's maybe my favorite part of the movie is him going, "We need your help." Like,
We need your help.
I have one question.
yes.
One single solitary question, and that is, what happened to Rainn Wilson?
I have an answer to that actually, and it wasn't
Yeah, I
even
was
in my
hoping you
facts, but I will address it. He actually, like, during the shooting of the movie, he got a job on a pilot, which he thought might be somewhat successful, so he left for that, which obviously went nowhere. But he would have had a bigger part in the movie. That's why he's in like 2 scenes in the very beginning, and then he's gone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Depressing.
Save us.
Oh, previous captain was not strong.
Yeah.
Lies, deception. Oh, God.
Yeah, they were sweet. They were sweet. I felt bad for them. I felt bad for them, and they were like, we don't have anyone else.
Wait, Gab, here's what I want from you. Can you give me your best impression of the Thermians laughing?
Oh, I don't remember it, but
It's like,
it's like, yeah, I guess.
That was worth it. That was worth the whole thing.
I'm happy. I'm happy you feel that way.
Thank you.
So yeah, it's interesting, right? This movie is obviously very much based on a very popular series. But I think my point still stands that it's very simple, it's very straightforward. And like, I don't necessarily have a problem with that, but it did make me think like, I'm confused. Is this a kid's movie? Is this not a kid's movie? Like, it felt a little bit like it didn't really know. Like it ended up being like, no, everyone can enjoy this. But like, you know, you go to see a kid's movie and you're like, wow, that was really good, even though you know it was a kid's movie. This felt like, am I the target audience for this? Like, who are they? Who what?
The irony is, I think you are the target audience for this. I think they tried to like cut it more into a kid's movie, but I still feel like at the end of the day, if I put this on for a 6-year-old, I think you're going to enjoy it more than a 6-year-old would.
Yeah. I don't disagree with that.
I also feel like I want to address, oh my God, the bad guy. What's his name?
Grasshopper.
Saris.
The makeup on Saris is so good. And I feel like
So
we
good.
didn't talk about that enough. How phenomenal he looks, because
I
I
know
have
why, right? It's Stan Winston.
Stan Winston on the practical effects, and Industrial Light and Magic on all the CGI stuff, which some of the CGI stuff doesn't hold up as well, but that's because it's 1999. I still think it looks pretty good, all things considered. I do like particularly Tim Allen and Goo when we just see his very magnified face before he gets launched back to Earth.
Yeah.
But I wanted to shout
Yeah.
out Saris and his little back tentacles that, as Kyle showed us, you know, you could just put up your
Do
arms
that.
for. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we also, one thing I think that's really interesting, specifically in this, like, it's something I feel like has sort of been lost in maybe modern filmmaking in general, which is there's either instantly forgettable musical scores and then like, oh my God, please stop, Blah, Hans Zimmer. Like and the Galaxy Quest has its own theme song, like score on its own. And it's not like, I guess the composer did make something that was more of a parody of the original Star Trek theme.
David Newman is the composer.
Yes. Well, I wasn't going to steal all your facts, but I think the Galaxy Quest score on its own, like instrumental theme, is incredible. Like, it sounds like you would get in that era, like in your Terminators, your Star Treks. Like, it is iconic.
I'd agree with that. Yeah, I did really like it. It did.
Yes.
It felt like it suited it perfectly.
Yeah, and I think the other version that they had made was like a more zany version, and like it would have been unfunny to try and make the theme funny. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Well,
So I think it's definitely the right choice.
The original Star Trek theme has like opera singing, like it's like, oh, it's awful. I know I can't sing.
I have two favorite moments in this podcast now: Gab doing the Thermian laugh and your opera singing.
Like, we didn't know what opera singing sounded like, so he had to demonstrate.
Wait, I forgot. Kyle, what does opera singing sound like?
Ooh, look who knows so much, huh?
Oh my god. Okay, let me ask you guys a question. Gab, you're gonna have the least answer for this, but what do you feel like is the line you have quoted the most from this movie?
In the 4 days?
For Gab, it's gonna be a harder choice. For you, I imagine there's got to be a line you've quoted a lot from this movie. Because I can tell you, there's a clear number one for me, and close by second is the I am shot, but that's not my number one.
It's so good.
Gab, have you quoted it at all?
No, I'm sorry.
You've never heard "Never Give Up, Never Surrender"?
No.
Wow, in the gym of all places.
Yeah, no.
Sometimes
Yeah.
give up, often surrender.
Yeah.
That's
No,
my
it doesn't
stance on
come up.
life. Sometimes give up, often surrender.
Yeah.
Cough and surrender?
I said often surrender, but you know what? That would work too. Cough and surrender.
Yeah, it depends on how I'm feeling that day.
Or if I'm at the
Dylan, what
doctor.
is- What's your most quoted line from this?
Saris, I have used this a million times. Saris going, explain it to him as you would a child.
Yeah.
Anytime something needs to be dumbed down, I have often gone, explain it as you would a child. Which I feel like I will now throw at Gab. Like next time I'm going to go, what's it about? Explain it as you would a child.
That should be include that in your like synopsis clip or whatever. Like what the movie's
God damn
about.
it. Perhaps I should.
Yeah, you might need
We'll
to.
see if I remember to do that by next time.
Well, am I editing the podcast now? Is that what's happening? Because you
Only
have
if
no
you're on
time?
every week. Then you can edit each episode, Kyle.
Oh, it's funny because parts of this movie have always sort of been around, like Never Give Up, Never Surrender. It is part of, I think for them, like it has entered pop culture. No, like that's where this is from. It wasn't in something else beforehand.
I don't feel like that's I was gonna say I don't feel like that's as iconic as I've shot or explained it as you would a child, but maybe that was just in my household. I don't think I've ever
Exactly.
heard anybody
Like-
offhand go "Never give up, never surrender" outside of this movie.
I think in my house growing up, in high school, by the time my sister had seen this, hi Haley, she's not listening to this, but just the Thermians, like like that came up a lot. Like I could just picture my sister and I doing that part a lot. By Grabthar's Hammer is so good. I don't know. It's like I think there's a substantial amount of this that like you look at the other sci-fi stuff, they all have that, right? Like Star Wars has "May the Force be with you." Everybody misquotes the "Luke, I am your father," which is not what he says, but and then "Live long and prosper" being the Star Trek one.
I feel like if I were smarter as a kid, I could have used the Thermian voice to get things out of my parents by annoying them. I could have been like, "Could we get ice cream?" Like me and Zach could totally have been like, "I would like Rocky Road." Like.
I think it, "Oh, that ain't right" might probably was said the most.
Could be, which also
some
a line that
things.
was improvised by Sam Rockwell.
Complete unknown pretty much at the time, which is hilarious.
Yeah, and now Academy Award winner
For what?
for 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri.
Oh, interesting.
Ooh,
Supporting,
swish,
right?
Dylan. Way to remember that. Yes.
Dylan, did you get a mic stand?
No.
Oh.
Let's see. Should we get to? I have a lot of facts here. Should we get to them?
Please, we must.
I want the truth.
Face the facts, ducks.
Facts have no place with an organized religion.
Okay, on the Rotten Tomatoes tomato meter, it has a 90% with an average rating of 7.3 out of 10, 121 fresh reviews, only 13 rotten. Audience score is 79% with an average rating of 3.9 out of 5, and IMDb it has a 7.4 out of 10. It had a budget of $45 million. It grossed $90 million, right in the sweet spot of where you want to be. The critics' consensus, intelligent and humorous satire with an excellent cast. No previous Trekkie knowledge needed to enjoy this one. Roger Ebert gave it 3 stars, and he said the movie's humor works best when the illogic of the TV show gets in the way. Jay Webb from the Dallas Morning News. Each actor plays an actor playing the sci-fi characters. It's a bit difficult to keep track of who's who, and ultimately the characters are so underdeveloped, it's even more difficult to care. Which, Gab, you had never seen this before. Did you have a hard time keeping track of who anybody was?
No, not in the least.
I was going to say, I feel like, did I forget? Is Jay Webb I was 5 years old and a movie critic at the time and nobody knew. He was like, I couldn't keep track of all these characters.
Well, the way he described it, honestly, the first thing that came to my brain was Robert Downey Jr. in Tropic Thunder. I'm the dude playing the dude disguised as another dude.
Nell Minow, the movie mom, said, we really come to care about the characters. So she kind of went the other way as Jay Webb. I imagine that she was the movie mom and Jay Webb is the movie son, who was like, that movie was stinky. I don't know it. And then Mark Caro from the Chicago Tribune. It's a clever premise, but not one that lends itself to an hour and 42 minutes of hijinks. Which, to be debated. I don't think an hour and 42 minutes is very long, quite frankly.
No.
We've got some letterbox reviews.
It's right in Gab's sweet spot. It's under 2 hours. It's just over an hour and a half.
Each minute under 2 hours makes it better to Gab. If you could make a 1 minute long movie, which I'm just describing reels, Gab thinks every one of those is to watch before you die.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I've watched the whole internet.
Letterbox reviews. Eric Tacular said, if you watch this while focusing on whatever Sam Rockwell is doing in the background at any given moment, it's like a whole extra mini movie.
No.
Olivia said, Galaxy Quest is to sci-fi what Scream is to horror, which I kind of get. But Gab, have you not seen Scream either?
Nope.
Devastating. Absolutely devastating. And we'll have to do that at some point. This one from Russ Mann. Does Tim Allen go to home improvement conventions?
No, because he probably did Last Man Standing. He probably does that instead.
But if he went to a home improvement convention, do you think people are like, do the do that thing in person?
No, they probably want the like his stupid laugh. Yeah.
He's good at making random noises, ain't he? Okay.
Because
he's also good at doing cocaine. Yeah.
Perhaps cocaine will come up in the facts.
Nalina didn't know about that. I was like, you know, he got arrested, right? He's like a rat. And she's like, what are you talking about? And I showed her his picture.
When you see that mugshot, you're like, yeah, that's a guy who does cocaine.
Well, but that's why the scene is in the Santa Claus of him not snitching. Because it's like, what if I didn't do that? Like, what if I wasn't a rat?
Who did he snitch on?
Like all the other dealers. He had a plea deal. So he didn't do any hard time. Because it was like kilos of cocaine.
I will talk about this more. And also, it's on the What Went Wrong podcast episode about Galaxy Quest, which is also very good. Avery Edison, the last letterbox review, makeup and practical effects on Saris deserved an Oscar, which debatably true. It deserved at least a nomination, which I don't think it even got. It was directed by Dean Pariseau, who also directed Bill and Ted Face the Music, Red 2, and Fun with Dick and Jane. The screenplay was written by David Howard and Robert Gordon, who also wrote Trek the Movie, Men in Black 2, and A Series of Unfortunate Events. Stars Tim Allen as Jason Nesmith, who you may know from Toy Story and Home Improvement. Sigourney Weaver as Gwen DeMarco, who you may know from Alien and Avatar. Alan Rickman as Alexander Dane, who you may know from Die Hard and Harry Potter. Tony Shalhoub as Fred Kwan, who you may know from Monk and The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. Sam Rockwell as Guy Fleegman, who you may know, who you may know from Charlie's Angels and Three Billboards. Daryl Mitchell as Tommy Weber, may know from NCIS New Orleans and Inside Man. Enrico Colantoni as Mathazar, who you may know from Veronica Mars and Just Shoot Me. Robin Sachs as Saris, Missy Pyle as Laliari, Jed Reese, Justin Long, Rainn Wilson, and Corbin Bleu.
He's young. What's his name?
Tommy, young Laredo.
Yeah, he's young Tommy.
Crazy. I did not realize that was him.
The movie won a Saturn, which is the Academy of Science Fiction, Fantasy, and Horror Films Award for Best Actor for Tim Allen. Now let's get into some fun facts. The scene where Tim Allen is in the men's room overhearing how the cast of Galaxy Quest are nobodies and all the co-stars can't stand him mirrors an actual event in William Shatner's life. He discovered the exact same things about himself at a 1986 convention.
They also used the R word in that scene, and I totally forgot about that.
Oh, yeah. But that felt like 90s.
That's very of 1999, yeah.
But
Yeah.
like watching this now, I went, oh no. Like it's
They didn't mean it. Okay. According to director Dean Pariseau, Tim Allen became very emotional after filming the scene where Jason reveals the truth to Mathesar after he explains it to him as he was a child. Tim Allen said, I don't like these feelings I'm having. I'd like to go back to the trailer. After he left, Alan Rickman said, oh my God, I think he just experienced acting.
That's amazing.
Coincidentally, this is also the same day that Steven Spielberg, who was the head of the production company DreamWorks, visited the set. He complimented Tim Allen's acting in the scene, told him what he did was really great. Tim Allen did not know how to take this and grabbed Steven Spielberg and yelled out to the cast and crew, you know who this guy is? He directed 1941, which is like Steven Spielberg's only flop. And then he walked away. Like, I feel like he was just like, can't compute right now. Must be Dick. Like,
I'm shocked. What a psycho.
Okay. Kyle, I feel like you'll know this, but Gab, Sam Rockwell actually based his performance on another performance that we reviewed on Movies Right Before You Die. Do you have any idea who it is?
No.
I appreciate that you didn't wait too long for that. You just stared blankly like a deer in the headlights. All right. He based his performance on Bill Paxton and Aliens.
If you would have had me sit here for the next 10 years on absolutely no planet and under no circumstance would I have said Bill Paxton from Alien.
But now that you hear it, it makes sense, doesn't it? Like with the whole game over, man.
Game over, man. Game over.
Yeah.
This is also the second movie I've been on the podcast for that he's in.
Bill Paxton or Sam Rockwell?
Sam Rockwell.
What are the movies with Sam Rockwell in?
He's in The Mask?
Nope.
No.
Zorro?
He's in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Oh, yeah.
Thug.
We're loyal to Shredder. I forgot about that.
That's right. I said to Corey, how do I know this guy? And he goes, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, duh. And I was like, oh, okay. Kyle, you've been on this podcast too much. Go ahead, Dylan.
So after the crew arrives via their little pods, the Thermians appear without their appearance generators as their like octopus appearance. The captain asks who wants a tour, and Sam Rockwell lets out a blood-curdling scream. If you watch, Sigourney Weaver clearly is not ready and does not know that he's going to do that because you can very actually see her get terrified by the scream. Like she jumps back like, oh! The original director of the movie was going to be Harold Ramis, and he wanted no one comedic. So he wanted to cast Alec Baldwin as the lead, which ironically, Alec Baldwin became pretty comedic when you think about like 30 Rock and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Became less comedic with the whole, Rust and
killing someone
shooting thing. Yeah. All right. Moving on. Alec Baldwin turned it down. Steve Martin and Kevin Kline were also considered, though Kline turned it down for family reasons. When Tim Allen was cast, Harold Ramis left the project. After seeing the film, Harold Ramis said he was ultimately impressed with Tim Allen's performance. Justin Long said he was nervous auditioning as an unknown actor at the time, and he competed for the role of Brandon against Kieran Culkin, Eddie K. Thomas, and Tom Everett Scott, which Tom Everett Scott has also been on this podcast. Gab, do you remember for what?
No.
That Thing You Do. He's the star of.
Oh, yeah, he shades.
Mm-hmm. Okay. In 2007, Pulitzer Prize winning writer David Mamet wrote a book about Hollywood, Bambi versus Godzilla, on the nature, purpose, and practice of the movie business. In the book, he lists 4 perfect films: The Godfather, A Place in the Sun, Dodsworth, and Galaxy Quest, which I think is very interesting. I'm very curious what his definition is of perfect film, but very interesting. So, the Thermian voice that Gab so disliked comes entirely from Enrico Colantoni's audition. He did it first with his normal voice and wanted to try it one more time after because he didn't feel that something was right. So he tried it again using a vocal exercise he learned at the Yale School of Drama, where you hit all the vocal resonators. And that is the voice you hear for the Thermians that everyone copied after he had done it. Speaking of the Thermian voice, the deluxe DVD of Galaxy Quest has an audio track in Thermian where it's just the Thermian shrieking for every voice for the entirety of the film. So it's just a dub of just that noise over and over again. Justin Long was actually also offered the role of Steve in Blue's Clues. He would have been following the original Steve and turned it down to do Galaxy Quest.
I think that was the smart move.
In the long run, smart move. In the short run, wild choice.
Wait, so he would have been Steve's like cousin when Steve went to college?
Yeah, he would have been the second Steve.
It's weird that these two things are happening in the same like timeline because they feel like completely different.
So separated.
Not things I think of at the same time. Yeah.
Wow, interesting.
The original title of the first draft of the script was Captain Starshine, which I think Galaxy Quest is a lot better than that. In the original draft, Jason Nesmith hated being the captain. When writer Robert Gordon came up with him loving being the captain, they had him do a rewrite without ever reading the initial writer David Howard's script. So David Howard obviously gets credit on this, but he basically like just has the initial idea of like they're actors, but they had to go into space and actually help. And then Robert Gordon is like, well, I'm going to redo this whole fucking thing. So Tim Allen. In 1964, Tim Allen's father dies. He falls into heavy drug use in college, starts dealing to keep up his drug use and pay for college. I think that was 1974, by the way. In October of 1978, he gets arrested at the airport with over 650 kilograms of cocaine. The state had just passed a law mandating a life sentence for being caught with over 650 kilograms of cocaine.
That can't be. That's 1,430 pounds.
Maybe I meant 65?
It's 65.
All right. Well, fuck off, Gab.
I was like, how is he transporting?
I got the year wrong too. All right. I did the best I could. It's a lot of facts to do.
Do you want to
Gab,
start
go
again?
to chat.
I'm
Yeah, there's Tim Allen's lovely mugshot. Okay. The state had just passed okay. In October of 1978, he gets arrested at the airport with over 65 kilograms of cocaine. The state had just passed a law mandating a life sentence for being caught with over 65 kilograms of cocaine. He's only 24 years old. To avoid the life sentence, he pleads guilty and gives info on other dealers. He goes to prison for 2 years and 4 months. His case is moved to federal court as part of him giving that information, which saved him from the life sentence. It's also supposedly he honed his comedic craft in prison, trying to avoid being murdered.
Good for him. See, two things I want to say. Number one, that man does not look 24. Okay, that cocaine ages you. Second is, while you were telling me that story, I thought that he was like famous actor Tim Allen gets arrested for cocaine and then is also dealing it and also gives up everybody else. No. I understand.
Way before.
Okay, this is way before. But wasn't he using cocaine the whole time?
What do you mean, when he was dealing?
No, when he was an actor.
I don't think so. I think he just brings that cocaine energy. You know what I mean?
Probably couldn't have, because if he's doing a plea deal, like he's admitting guilt, I don't know what the stat like. I don't know.
Wasn't on parole forever, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Who knows? Tim Allen could be doing cocaine right now.
Yeah.
Tim Allen, write in and let us know.
Yeah, Tim Allen, if you're listening, and we know that you are, let us know. Are you currently high on cocaine?
And if so,
you'd have to be
where do you get yours?
Another series of the Santa Claus.
Well, you could also just be high on money. So, Lolly Ari, played by Missy Pyle, has her line in the limo where she lets out the Thermian shriek. In the script, it was just written to say a baby and a bagpipe sound, which is very specific. And you know what? Yeah, kind of works.
Very specific and very loudly.
It's very specific and very loud. Okay, that's all the facts I've got. If you're ready, we're going to do some mail from our last episode, The Naked Gun.
The Naked Gun.
Mail time! When you control the mail, you control information.
Mom asked me to ask you if there's any mail for us here by mistake.
What?
First, we have the rare Spotify comment. I feel like I never check those, but we have one from our old pal Legacy.
Oh, hello.
Looks like I need to get around to watching this before the revival movie comes out. I've seen Airplane, but The Naked Gun has not graced my eyes as of yet.
Oh, well, you better watch it because it is a movie to watch before you die. Oh, am I not allowed to say that? No, I am.
You say that.
Sorry, my timelines are crossed.
Actually, wait. No, I think this will be... No, yes, this will be part of Galaxy Quest.
Can, yeah.
I don't know how this works, Gab. We've only been doing this for like 100-something episodes. Okay.
Yeah, it's only been like 3 years.
Yes. Yeah, I think what's interesting is I feel bad if you like haven't watched it and you let us spoil the whole thing for you. Don't do that.
But that's on you.
I can't believe I'm saying don't listen to our podcast if you haven't seen it. Like,
I mean, listen, we're serving up the truth.
You got a little stuttery there, didn't you?
I know. I'm sorry. It's late.
Okay. Some comments on our Naked Gun episode. So this was on our greatest movie killer short about OJ Simpson. Somebody said he tried method acting. That was from Shigo.
Very good.
Next, from Wesley Rogers, I'm sure that pre-1980 folk thought Leslie Nielsen couldn't do comedy, but I hope the reboot works because we had said that we weren't sure about Liam Neeson.
Yeah, we'll see.
Next, we have, of course, our necessary Scotty Cameron novel.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Scotty Cameron's YouTube novel, Yeep. I've memorized Patrick Bateman's monologue about Huey Lewis in the News to the point where I can insert any band I want in place of Huey Lewis in the News. When I met Ice Nine Kills frontman Spencer Carness at a Comic-Con, I did the monologue as it related to his band. All I need is familiarity with the band's body of work to do it. I knew the bit about the record labels owning the master version of songs because so many AMVs and FMVs get copyright strikes on social media platforms from the labels as opposed to the bands. The bit I was unsure about was the lyrics for covers in something like a jukebox musical. Luckily, the other Scott proved my hunch correct. That would be a musical Scott.
Musical Scott, yes.
Yes. My internal monologue when baseball was mentioned. Dylan knows Joey Wentz without Googling him. Oh, wait, he's high profile enough that shouldn't be surprising. Funny thing is, when I knew Joey in high school, I pegged him for a professional basketball player, not baseball. He played both sports in high school. I figured, much like his older brother, he would have given up baseball for basketball. However, that all changed our junior year of high school when Joey had a falling out with the head basketball coach and he quit basketball mid-season. From there, he devoted all of his training to baseball, and now he's in the MLB. I always find it funny Joey's Wikipedia entry makes no mention of the fact that he also played basketball in high school. Now, if you read his entry, you'll know where I went to high school. It's funny. I've seen all 6 episodes of Police Squad and the film Airplane, but I haven't actually seen the Naked Gun films. I've put those off long enough, it seems, especially with a Legacy sequel on the horizon. I rather enjoyed the Police Squad, especially the episode where Nielsen and the Perp are using the same park bench for cover and run out of ammo and start throwing stuff at each other. I enjoy that kind of nonsensical humor. Stay yappy, the jackass who picked Vampire's Kiss. I don't think
I'm sorry. Which baseball player are we talking about?
Joey Wentz.
Got it.
I don't think I've ever met somebody who has seen the Police Squad TV show, but not the Naked Gun, the movie.
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Lastly, we have an email from our Canadian correspondent, Kyle Naranya.
Hello.
I hope you both are doing well. After your conversation with the Naked Gun, it made me wonder, everything seems like eventually it's going to get a reboot. And I was curious based on that. Is there something that got rebooted that you like more than the original? Or is there something you watched not knowing it was a reboot and then discovered the original afterwards?
Oh, hands down, the reboot of Freaky Friday with Lindsay Lohan and Jamie Lee Curtis is significantly better than the original. At least it was when I was in middle school because I rented the original from Blockbuster and hated it.
Yeah, let me ask you a question. Do you still think that we're actually going to do Freakier Friday like the week it comes out?
Yes, we have to. We made an agreement.
I do feel like we have to, but I just feel like we're too lazy to. It takes us like 5 months to meet up in person.
No. We're gonna be better about it. And here's the thing. I can't say what I want to say about how much better my schedule is gonna be, but my schedule is gonna be better.
Okay.
And Corey and I will come out to the island. We'll go to a movie. You can come out here. Like we live really close to a movie theater. I don't know. We can figure this out. It's fine.
We'll make it happen. We're
making it happen. We have to, because we should have done the fucking Nicolas Cage vampire movie, but we didn't, and that was laziness. This,
Renfield, is that the one?
Yeah, but also like it as it turns out, we didn't need to.
I think time has proven that we were okay for not doing that.
Yeah, but this Freaky Friday 2 sequel movie.
Surely we'll look ridiculous if we miss out on Freaky Friday.
Yes.
The reboot that I would say that I didn't know was a reboot when I watched it, and I guess I would call it a reboot, is The Fugitive, which was based on an old like 60s TV show. And I freaking love that movie, obviously, but I don't care about the TV show at all. I guess
fuck the TV show.
Yeah, fuck that TV show and fuck that Quibi version they tried to do. Nobody wants to watch 10-minute segments, Quibi.
Yeah.
And if The Thing counts, that's a remake, so I'll say The Thing and The Fly. You know what I mean? Those are all remakes, so I'll kind of count all of those.
Sure.
Yeah. All right. That's about all the mail we've got. So should we get back to Galaxy Quest with Kyle?
Let's quest it.
Do or do not. There is no try.
The guilty will be punished. Sentence is death.
All right, Kyle, you go first and wrap us up.
I just feel so defeated because I think of all of the ones we've done so far, this has been the most obvious. I think it's really interesting because obviously Gab talked about the simplicity, and that's not something I would argue with. But specifically, I think it's fun when we look at if there is or isn't a criteria for this, because honestly, it feels like a sliding scale sometimes. And trust me, I looked at the list this morning of of what has made it on or not.
It is absolutely a sliding scale, but go on.
What to me is so special about Galaxy Quest and movies to watch before you die, in my opinion, are movies that do something unlike other stuff. Like some things are lobs, like Lion King, but other things are like so specific. And I don't believe it was on your Disney Mount Rushmore, or maybe it was. I don't remember. That was weeks ago or months ago by the time people listen. What?
Lion King?
Was it?
Oh yeah,
I think it was.
Both
Yeah.
of us. Yeah.
Oh no,
absolutely.
You left off Little Mermaid and Aladdin, but I don't have time for that. That there are like people talk about Spaceballs with reverence, and I get it, of that era, but Galaxy Quest does so much in terms of the movie itself, while being simple, is still a fun Star Trek adventure. And the fact that you need to know nothing, there's no entry level buy-in. Like by the time I saw this, I had very vague ideas of Star Trek. But the movie works on its own. That whole idea of really doing a space comedy, because Spaceballs is a spoof, but that comes up in the conversation a lot. The reverence I have for Galaxy Quest is you have an incredible cast, arguably all at the height of their powers, some maybe starting to go into them, like Sam Rockwell. But it is a fun action adventure that happens to be this comedy about sci-fi fandom, and it's not insulting. It actually makes them a part of the story. And there is no movie that does this movie like this. Like, you don't get... I was talking to Lena as we were picking up the kids today. What's that one... I think Justin Long is in it, where they go to like steal episode 1 because somebody's dying. And she's like,
Fanboys.
Oh, Fanboys. And I was like, Fanboys wishes it was Galaxy Quest. Because as we talked about, is it the funniest movie? No. Am I comparing it to Sinners? No, those are very different things. But I can tell you a lot of other vampire movies better than Sinners. And I liked Sinners. But Galaxy Quest is unlike any other movie in this genre. Like Guardians of the Galaxy, you don't get that without something like Galaxy Quest, and its fandom and the popularity of it amongst film fans has only gotten larger and more respected because it was so far ahead of its time. Like embracing con culture and fandom in a positive light, that you don't get the MCU without movies respecting audiences of these pop culture genres. So for that alone, and if you are a Tim Allen fan, like I loved the Harry Potter films and books growing up. Obviously, it's hard to talk about that now. But Alan Rickman in this is incredible, and that's not surprising. I love seeing Sigourney Weaver, who was such an action badass as Ridley, and she gets to play something so atypical to what she was known as. And obviously, I had a crush on her growing up. Who didn't, by the way she looks at the end of the movie? And the other side, sorry?
It's true, yes.
All the other side characters are so funny, and nobody feels like they're insulting the people that they're inspired by. It's done respectfully, and I think that's why it's a movie to watch before you die.
Well, I like that had like an intro and conclusion, like a school essay. All right, I would say it does sci-fi really well. It does the comedy pretty well, although it's not as funny as I remember it being, but that also could be the fact that I've seen it many times by this point. I think the effects are really well done, especially, like I said, the practical effects. The cast is amazing. Like, and I think, honestly, the underrated MVP of the cast to me is Enrico Colantoni, who is doing something completely ridiculous, but it works both seriously and comedically at times. I would say it is a movie to watch before you die, but for me, it's a very soft movie to watch before you die. I wouldn't call it perfect, as David Mamet said, but David Mamet?
Mamet.
Yeah, let's go with Mamet. This is just like when I couldn't get Baz or Baz Luhrmann, but whatever. I'm going to give a soft movie to watch before you die. I would say yes.
All right. So, I don't know if it has anything to do with the fact that this was set up to me as like a you are going to fucking love this movie. Like, oh my God. It was really forgettable to me. I could take it or leave it. I didn't hate it. I thought it was good. It was a fun watch, but like nothing about it to me was particularly funny. Nothing about it was like particularly like memorable. I don't know. It just didn't really do it for me. And I went into it thinking this is going to be one of my favorite movies of all time, and it just didn't. It didn't hit for me, and I'm really sorry. And it's nothing personal, and that's just it is what it is. I'm sorry. It didn't do it for me.
I think it's an unfair expectation. I will say for Galaxy Quest on its behalf that I think that this was a more novel and unique concept 20 or 25 years ago than it is today. Today, I feel like we see a lot more stuff that is more meta about the movie character actually has to be a hero now. Like The Fall Guy just came out, and that does, not just came out, but The Fall Guy does something very similar. And there's a lot of movies that do something similar now where it's like taking advantage of your knowledge of tropes and things like that. But,
with the cast that they had, I expected it to be significantly funnier, like way more laugh out loud funny, and it just wasn't for me.
Oh.
Yeah, like it's not to say that I didn't enjoy it. I was just like, okay, I never have to see that again.
Feels like she needs to apologize, and I'm not offended.
Well, I just have hated every movie you've ever brought to us. So
explain it to Kyle as you would a child.
I'm 2 for 5. It's all right. I'm 2 for 5.
You would still make the Hall of Fame with that.
I could still make the Hall of Fame. I just got to go one for 3.
That's not bad. All right. So, Dylan, why don't you say the things that we say?
Well, first, let me say, if you want to, you can listen to Kyle every Monday morning. I would say you're available for the Film Reelists.
Every Monday morning.
I know. I feel like I see it initially very late at Sunday night, but he is.
No, it's 12 a.m. So it's Monday.
Oh my God. We're getting real specific now, but Monday mornings, every week, Kyle is there to talk about the latest thing on the Film Realist podcast. The podcast from a complete nobody that is hopefully for somebody. Did I nail that? I fucking nailed that. If you want to, you can send us an email at movieswatchfood@gmail.com. Thank you. Gab got terrified by that. You can also send us a voice message there. In the description below, you can find the link to the Hall of Pods podcasting network with our friends there. You can find our link tree, our merch shop, and you can say anything in the comments you want to say, and I'll say it back like Anchorman, Ron Burgundy. I don't care. Thanks for listening to this podcast. Never give up, never surrender, except for Kyle, because you cannot get past Gab, apparently.
Young Laredo, how you've grown. Young Laredo. Crewman number Guy.